How many times have you sat down at the poker table certain that today's the day you'll crush it, but just a few hands in, you catch yourself thinking, what's going on? Why am I losing again? It's not always about the cards. In poker, aside from combinations, there's another crucial element, the types of players at the table. And here's where things get interesting. Players come in all kinds. There are aggressive maniacs who are ready to bet and raise with almost anything. There are tight players who wait months for pocket aces. There are friendly fishes who play on instinct and burn through bankrolls just because they don't know the basics. And then there are the sneaky calculated tags, the strategists who methodically extract chips from everyone else. In this video, you'll learn how each of these player types thinks and acts. I'll show you their strengths, their leaks, and how to play effectively against them. But most importantly, I'll help you figure out what kind of player you are at the table. Are you a maniac, a fish, a nit, a calling station, or maybe something in between? Trust me, understanding this is crucial because once you're aware of your type, you can work on your weaknesses and start winning more often. Ready to find out who you really are at the poker table and start earning more? Then get comfy and let's go. Remember, in poker, the winners aren't the luckiest. They're the ones who understand who they're playing against. If you want to be one of those players, keep watching. We're about to break down each type and I'll show you how to turn their weaknesses into your personal profit. So, the first player type you'll often meet at the poker table, the maniac. Sounds intense, right? And honestly, it is. A maniac is the guy who'll raise and re-raise you almost every hand. 3-bet, raise, all in the same hand. He doesn't care what cards he has. He could have aces or 7-2 offsuit, it makes no difference. He just pushes everyone around because in his mind, he learned that being aggressive is the play strengths of the maniac. The maniac makes opponents nervous and prone to mistakes. You start wondering, is he bluffing again? And might fold even a strong hand. He easily steals small pots because no one wants to mess with him without a monster hand. He's unpredictable and sometimes that's his deadliest weapon. Weaknesses of the maniac. He often goes too far with the aggression. That makes him easy to trap with a strong hand. The maniac is constantly on the edge of tilt, lose one big pot, and he might start playing even more recklessly. So how do you handle a maniac at your table? Be patient, wait for a really strong hand and let the maniac bring the chips to you. Use small bets and check raises. Maniacs love betting. Let them build the pot while you quietly collect. Don't be afraid to fold with low hands when the maniac's aggression goes off the charts. Keeping a cool head is key against this type. A maniac is dangerous if you don't know how to play against him. But if you've got discipline and patience, he's the perfect opponent for profit. But hold on, maybe you are the maniac at the table? Don't jump to conclusions yet. Let's take a look at the complete opposite next. Next up is a player who's the total opposite of the maniac. He's called a nit, or simply a tight player. This is the guy who will wait for pocket aces or kings even if it takes hours. While everyone else is playing, having fun, and making bets, the nit is quietly waiting, like he's in line for a new iPhone. Strengths of the nit. Nits rarely make big mistakes. They don't risk big money on weak hands or get tangled up in unnecessary spots. If a nit is showing aggression, you know he has a strong hand. That reliability and discipline is his weapon. Weaknesses of the nit. He's too obvious. If he starts betting, even your cat knows he's got something big. So, if you are not sure, just fold. No harm done. He misses out on tons of potential winnings because his range is so tight. He just hands over chips when opponents start to pressure him. How to play against a nit. If the knight shows aggression, it's best to fold weak or medium hands. Don't try to be a hero. He probably has the goods. Use bluffs and aggressive play to steal small pots. He'll rarely fight back without a strong hand. If you've got a big hand and the N-Ed is betting, build the pot fast. He'll be convinced he's ahead and happily hand over his stack. A tight player is dangerous because of his discipline and consistency, but it's exactly that predictability that makes him the perfect target for a smart opponent. Or maybe you're a bit of a nit yourself? Hold tight. We've still got another very familiar player type to meet. The fish. Well, now we come to the player type that everyone secretly, or not so secretly, loves at the table. The fish. Remember the saying, if you haven't figured out who the fish is, it's probably you. The fish is the guy who plays for fun and emotion, or just because it's Friday and he felt like trying his luck. He doesn't worry about ranges, strategy, or pot odds. He's just here for the ride. Strengths of the fish. The fish is completely unpredictable. You never know what he's holding. Sometimes that randomness lets him win huge pots just because no one believes he'd play that way. He's not afraid to lose, which means he doesn't feel a lot of pressure or tilt. He came to enjoy himself, and sometimes that mindset works in his favor. Weaknesses of the fish. The fish doesn't understand the math of poker. He often overestimates his hands and gives away chips in spots that could have been easily avoided. He plays too many hands that should have been folded pre-flop. Over time, this leaks his bankroll completely. How to play against a fish. Don't overcomplicate your strategy. Wait for strong hands and play them straightforwardly. If you've got a good hand, bet. The fish will almost always call. Avoid bluffing. Fishes rarely folds. He just wants to see your cards. Make your value bets a little bigger than usual. The fish doesn't pay much attention to sizing and will call you down until the chips are gone. Being a fish isn't shameful. Every great player started out that way. But if you saw yourself in this description, maybe it's time to start leveling up. Alright, next up, a much more advanced player type. Let's talk about the tight aggressive player, also known as TAG. These players are the real deal. Let's go. Now let's talk about a player type that deserves real caution at the table. The tight aggressive player, or TAG for short. If the Maniac is a wild race car driver, then the tag is a sniper colon. Careful, period, precise, point, and extremely dangerous. The tag only plays strong hands, but when they do, it's with full confidence and aggression. They don't just call or play cautiously. They either bet or they fold. Strengths of the tag. They are extremely disciplined. Tags rarely play weak or questionable hands, which helps them win consistently. They're great at reading opponents and knowing when to apply pressure or when to back off. They're hard to beat because they rarely make mistakes and they don't just hand you chips. Weaknesses of the tag. Tags can become too predictable because they only play strong hands. Their range becomes easy to read. If they bet, they usually have it. Sometimes they miss opportunities to widen their range or steal pots just because they're overly cautious. How to play against a tag. Play carefully, but also mix in some aggression. If you see the tag playing passively or tightening up, apply pressure, steal small pots. They usually won't fight back without a premium hand. Avoid playing big pots out of position against them. They will exploit your mistakes and positional disadvantage. Throw in occasional well-timed bluffs. Tags will respect your bets if you keep them balanced and logical. The tag is the type of player most beginners should aspire to be. If you're playing like a tag, congrats, you're already on the right track. But don't get too comfortable. A real pro always looks for ways to evolve. So, did you recognize yourself in the tag style? Or maybe someone at your table? No rush. Next up is a truly bold type of player, the loose aggressive, or LAG. Let's check him out. Time to talk about the boldest, most unpredictable player at the table, the loose aggressive player, or simply LAG. If poker is a party, the lag is the guy already dancing on the table and buying shots for everyone. The lag plays a ton of hands. He's constantly in the action, raising, re-raising, betting, and keeping everyone on edge. He's not afraid to lose a pot because he knows that over time his aggression will win more than it loses. Strengths of the LAG. He creates constant pressure. Players start folding too much or calling too wide just to keep up, and that leads to mistakes. Lags are hard to read. They play so many hands that you never know what they're really holding, and that confusion is their weapon. They often win big pots with unexpected hands. They hit weird two pairs or surprise straights that no one sees it coming. Weaknesses of the LAG. That same aggression can be a double-edged sword. Lags can get carried away and start betting big with total garbage. They're a favorite target for smart players who wait patiently for a big hand, then trap them hard. How to play against a lag. Stay patient and disciplined. Wait for a real hand and let the LAG build the pot for you. Use check raises and slow plays. Let the LAG take the lead. Then spring your trap when the moment's right. Don't try to fight fire with fire, unless you've got the goods. Fold your weaker hands more often and avoid unnecessary showdowns. Playing like a lag is risky, but in skilled hands, it's a style that can dominate the table. The key is to stay in control of both your range and your emotions. Recognize yourself in the LAG description, or maybe that sounds like your poker buddy. Don't worry. We've got one last classic player type to cover, and it's one that pros love seeing at the table. Now let's talk about a type of player that every pro secretly loves at the table. They're called calling stations or the loose passive players. This is the guy who plays almost every hand, but rarely shows any aggression. Imagine this. You bet, he calls. You bet again, he calls again. You raise big, guess what? He calls again. It's like watching someone sit through a poker movie, and he wants to see every scene, from flop to river. Strengths of the calling station. You can't bluff him, because he doesn't even believe in bluffs. He'll call you down just to see your cards. That unpredictability occasionally works. You'll never guess what weird hand he's holding, and sometimes he catches you off guard. Weaknesses of the calling station. He rarely bets, so when he does start betting, take that as a serious warning. It usually means he's got a monster hand. Calling stations play way too many weak weak hands. Over time, they just bleed chips, paying off stronger players without even realizing it. How to play against a calling station. Don't overthink it. When you've got a strong hand, bet big. He'll likely pay you off. Never bluff. He's not folding. He wants to see your hand, even if his own is trash. Use bigger bet sizes with your good hands. He doesn't pay attention to sizing. He's just curious to see the river. The calling station is truly your bankroll's best friend. He delivers his chips gift wrapped and doesn't even complain about it. But if you see yourself in this description, maybe it's time to take poker a bit more seriously. Add some aggression, start selecting better hands, and you'll stop being the table's charity case. So, was that you? Or maybe someone you've played with? Hold that thought, because next up, we're going to cover something essential. How to quickly recognize these types at the table, and most importantly, how to figure out which one you are. Let's keep going. So, now you know the main types of players, but how do you figure out which one is sitting across from you? Let me show you a few simple and fast ways to spot a player's type, often within just a few hands. What you have to pay attention to: 1. Frequency of hands played. If the player enters almost every hand and rarely folds, that's clearly a loose player. If they only play a couple of times an hour, you're likely facing a NIT or a tag. Number 2, level of aggression. If they raise often, 3-bet, and make large bets, they're likely a maniac or a lag. If they prefer to just call and play passively, it's probably a fish or a calling station. Number 3, response to aggression. A player who folds at the slightest pressure is probably a nit. If they call almost anything, most likely to be a fish or a calling station. Number 4, reaction after losing a big pot. Players who get even more aggressive after losing are usually maniacs or legs. Those who go silent and barely play anymore, nits or tight players. These simple observations will help you quickly understand who's sitting in front of you. And once you know the type, you can tailor your strategy and start winning more often. If you want to learn how to identify player types using built-in features of the Suprema Poker app, make sure to subscribe to our community channel. Now let's talk about something even more important. You. To figure out what type of player you are, ask yourself a few simple questions. How often do you enter pots? Almost every hand, about half, or just a few times per hour with a medium strength hand? Do you prefer to bet aggressively or cautiously call? How do you respond when someone tries to bluff you? Do you fold or call just to see what they had? What happens when you lose a big pot? Do you ramp up the aggression or tighten up and wait out the storm? If you play lots of hands and bet all the time, you might be a lag or even a maniac. If you play rarely but aggressively, you're probably a tag. If you play rarely and passively, that's nit territory. If you play often but passively, you're likely a fish or a calling station. Understanding your style is key to improving. If your current approach is holding you back, start making small changes. If you're too passive, try adding more aggression. If you're too loose, start folding marginal hands more often. If you're overly tight, try expanding your range a little. Remember, the best players are the ones who can adapt when and switch styles when needed. Be honest with yourself, know your strengths and weaknesses, and you'll start winning more consistently and confidently. So we've covered all the major types of poker players: the crazy maniacs and the cautious nits, the friendly fish and the aggressive lags, the predictable calling stations and the calculated tight aggressive tags. Now you know how to spot each type at the table and how to play against them. But most importantly, you've learned how to figure out your type and how to keep growing. Remember, my friend, poker isn't about being the luckiest or even the smartest. The real winners are the ones who keep learning, evolving, and adapting to the table and their opponents. Keep studying the game, review your hands, and never stop working on yourself. That's how you become a truly strong player, one who can feel confident at any table. If this video helped you, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and drop a comment about what type of player you see most often. And of course, join our Telegram community for even more tips and hand reviews. See you at the poker table. Good luck, and make the right decisions, my friend.